Hello and welcome to our weekly video. This week I'm drinking a beer from the East Sussex based brewery Burning Sky. This is a West Coast pale called Out of Vogue. I would expect this beer to be right up there with the best, as Burning Sky simply can't do anything wrong. I've loved every single beer I've tried from them. If you've not given them a go, then it's an absolute must. Now you can buy direct from their website and also various bottle shops right countrywide. There wasn't a great deal about this beer on their website, but the information on the can gives the hops used, which is Cascade, Chinook, Simcoe and Centennial, so it probably is a real classic West Coast beer. We have many questions from brewers every week, but one that stuck out this week was about fermentation issues, and especially what happens to be a stalled ferment. Let's have a look at why this may happen and how to prevent and how to actually solve the issue. A stuck or stalled ferment is one that takes off as expected and then slows down somewhat before stopping at a gravity above where the brewer is expecting the final gravity to be. One really important factor here is that your visual signs of fermentation, such as airlock activity or Krausen, this must be backed up by measurement. It could well be that fermentation is actually complete just a lot quicker than the brewers expected. A stuck ferment shouldn't happen if you have used an all malt grist, pitched enough healthy yeast and aerated your work correctly. However, as we all know, sometimes things go awry. So firstly, let's look at the malt bill. If you're using 100% malt, then there should be enough nutrients in the wort for healthy fermentation. However, it may be that you're using a higher quantity of sugar or a higher percentage of perhaps maize or rice. This is where adding nutrient will be necessary. There are several available, such as Cervamoises or indeed our own brand nutrient. Just add it in the last 10 minutes of the boil. Mash temperature also plays a pivotal role in how fermentable your wort is, and if you have mashed too high or conversely too low, this is not a salvageable situation. I advise you to take a look at our previous video actually about mash temperature. Take a good look at the yeast that you're using and follow the instructions for that particular yeast. Even yeast from the same brand have different instructions according to strain. Some yeasts are higher attenuating, some need higher temperatures throughout the whole ferment, some just for the final couple of points, and in fact this is true for the new Verdant IPA yeast. It may be that your ferment has stalled because the wort has dropped in temperature. It has moved out of the temperature range of your chosen yeast. Again, looking at the instructions on the yeast, making sure that you are pitching enough healthy yeast is imperative. If using dry yeast, this is normally quite easy, as most yeast sachets are designed for 40-pint batches. Do be aware that some of the Lallemand dry yeast, including Nottingham and their London Ale, have varying pitching rates. This is between 0.5 and 2 grams per litre of wort. We add the pitching rate for these yeasts in the product description, so you do need to take note. If using wet yeast, then this needs looking at closer. We stock many different brands and they all differ slightly in their approach. Whereas dry yeast has a long shelf life, the wet yeast is less so. This is why we add the best before dates of each strain listed on the website. Customers know exactly what they're purchasing. Now, when we send the yeast via courier, we always add an ice gel block. This gets packaged with the yeast in a bubble wrap bag, so the yeast should arrive to the customer in great condition. If this is the case, then go ahead and pitch as per the instructions. However, it may be you missed the courier, or indeed they missed you. Maybe the yeast didn't get put in the fridge right away. There are going to be scenarios where you just can't guarantee that the yeast is in pitchable condition. In this case, making a yeast starter is essential. You need to guarantee that the yeast you're pitching is on its A game, or you will have problems down the line. Don't just pitch and hope. I've added a blog post on how to make a yeast starter. It's not difficult, it takes little equipment, and it's a great skill to have as a brewer. So you've taken on board all the above, but you still are in the stuck ferment situation. What do? There are a few options. You may have been advised to rouse the yeast by giving it a stir. I wouldn't go down this path, as you really risk oxygenating your wort, and this is irreversible. It will be a dumped batch. You could also try adding a fresh pack of yeast. Also, this may not work if there's not enough oxygen present in the wort, and also there could be enough alcohol present to actually kill the yeast. My favoured method is to add a batch of healthy yeast at high Krausen. This means the yeast is fully active. It wants to ferment. So you need to make a fresh yeast starter, and this is with the same or very similar strain, and pitch it when you see the most vigorous signs of fermentation. This is called Krausening. Use the calculator available on our website to work out a starter size or how much malt extract to use. Now, for a 40 pint batch to kickstart a ferment, I would be looking at a 1 litre starter. Now, an easy way to do this is to have a can of proper starter on hand. So, to summarise, following good brewing practice will minimise your risk of fermentation issues, but arm yourself with the knowledge of your options if it all goes awry. Have a great weekend. See you next week.